prevent disruption throughout this session. You are allowed to close your videos throughout this session if you have connection problems. During the sharing session, you may type your question in the Slido platform that will be provided in the chat box. And the feedback form will be provided in the chat box at the end of the session. All participants are required to fill in the form. Please make sure you are in the best decency, such as wearing a proper attire, as we have a photo session with the speakers later on. Thank you for your attention and cooperation. We will start in a few minutes.
It's still kind of early, so maybe you guys can grab a quick breakfast before we start our sharing session, okay?
Hello everyone and welcome to the first session of the webinar series with KPMG, and we hope everyone is doing well and stay safe wherever you are. For attendance, please scan the QR code or you may fill in the Google form that has been provided in the chat box for manual attendance. And before we start our session, a gentle reminder to all participants, please mute your microphone unless you need to speak to prevent disruption throughout the session. You are allowed to close your videos throughout the session if you have a connection problems. During the sharing session, you may type your question in the Slido platform that will be provided in the chat box, or you may scan the QR code. The feedback form will be provided in the chat box at the end of the session. All participants are required to fill in the form. Please make sure you are in the best decency, such as wearing a proper attire, as we have a photo session with our speakers later on. Thank you for your kind attention and cooperation. We will start in a few minutes. So Daniel, we also have a Facebook Live right now?
Yes, if the participants have connection problems here, you guys may hit to our Facebook Live, which is at UNIMAC_official. Maybe you guys can also join our webinar through the Facebook page live.
In the meanwhile, you can also prepare the notes, as I am very sure that today this first session is very exciting. As for me too, I can't wait for the info and inputs. So stay safe. Stay the momentum, keep the boost up. Okay. working part-time, waiting tables. Left a small town, never looked back. I was a flight risk with the fear of falling, wondering why we bother with love if it never lasts. I say, can you believe it? Wow, Daniel, we have reached 119 participants so far. Thank you for joining us for today, and for participants, don't forget to scan your QR code.
Well, there are a lot of them. I hope we can keep these numbers throughout the whole webinar sessions. Right, Asma?
Yeah. In the meanwhile, can I have maybe you can give
Reaction.
Yeah, fire reaction. Can I have your fire reaction, please? Wow, Daniel.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for your response.
Looking great, everyone.
Keeping up the momentum until the second session. Right, Daniel?
I think until our sessions on this Friday.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for the reaction. Thank you for the emojis. Thank you for the spamming. Keep up the momentum until the last day. Meanwhile, welcome for the first sharing session of the webinar series. And for the participant, please scan the QR code or you may fill in the Google form that has been provided in the chat box for manual attendance. And before we start our session, I would like to remind to all the participants, please mute your microphone unless you need to speak to prevent disruption throughout this session. And you are allowed to close your videos throughout this session if you have a connection problems. During the sharing session, you may type your question in the Slido platform that will be provided in the chat box, or you may scan the QR code. The feedback form will be provided in the chat box at the end of the session. All the participants are required to fill in the form. Last but not least, please make sure you are in the best decency, such as wearing a proper attire, as we have a photo session with the speakers later on. Thank you for your kind attention and cooperation. We will start in a few minutes.
It's like a Polaroid love 사랑촌스러운 그 감정 근데 내 가슴이 뛰어 when I 이래 왜 사랑에 목매는 건지 어차피 뻔한 감정이잖아 분명 다 안감이 닿지 알고도 빠진 함정인가 봐 나도 모르게 when you call 맘에 가슴을
everyone, and welcome to the first session of the webinar series with KPMG. We hope everyone is doing well and stay safe wherever you are. And for attendance, participants, please scan the QR code or you may fill in the Google form that has been provided in the chat box for manual attendance. And before we start our session, a gentle reminder to all participants, please mute your microphone unless you need to speak to prevent disruption throughout this session. You are allowed to close your videos throughout the session if you have a connection problems. During the sharing session, you may type your question in the Slido platform that will be provided in the chat box. The feedback form will be provided in the chat box at the end of the session. All participants are required to fill in the form. Please make sure you are in best decency, such as wearing a proper attire, as we have a photo session with our speakers later on. Thank you for your kind attention and cooperation. We will start in a few minutes.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words
So it is 10 a.m. right now. Mr. Ukay, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Can we
Alright.
start now?
Yes, sure.
All
Can.
right.
Okay. Hello and good morning, everyone. I'm Danya Misli,
And I'm Asma Hanis,
your moderators for today.
today.
We would like to extend a hearty welcome to a representative from KPMG, Mr. Muhammad Bukail Isa, who is our main speaker for today, and also to our dearest participants who joined our webinar today. First and foremost, in conjunction with UNIMAC Accounting Week 2022 webinar series with the theme Mind the Gap, is helped to give an in-depth knowledge and understanding on the study and career path in accountancy to the students, and also the importance of having professional recognition in the accounting field, where we will touch more on the career-related topics.
And to begin our first session of webinar series, we are pleased to have our esteemed speaker for today, Mr. Muhammad Ukay Esa, who is a lead impact at KPMG, in which his primary role comprises of driving KPMG in Malaysia Internet ESG aspiration and realizing KPMG's global, which is our impact plan for today. For today, Mr. Ukay will share about KPMG's story and career insight. But before we start with our sharing session, we will have a photo session with our speakers. So I hope the participant can please open your cameras and show your whitey pose smiles. Technical team, over to you.
Hi,
Come on, open your
everyone.
camera.
You
Don't
can
be
open your
shy.
cameras.
Just for a while. Just for a while. Just a few seconds. No shy. We can see a lot of here, some of participants here together with us for today. Come on, don't be shy. Open your camera. Okay, technical team. Over to you, technical team.
Okay, guys. 1, 2, 3. Restart sikit. 1, 2, 3. Next page. Next page ada. The next page ada.
Alright,
Alright,
okay.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, technical team. So, before we pass our session to Mr. Ukail, Dania, do you think we should do a warm-up to boost our momentum, shall we?
Well, I guess yes, but Asma, how are we going to do that?
Alright, so guys, if you are ready for today's session, please type KPMG in the chat box. Come on, guys. KPMG. Alright, we can see the response here. Spam, keep
Yeah.
spamming. Yeah, boost up, come on. Spam, keep spamming.
Thank you for the warm responses, guys.
Mhm.
All right, maybe Asma,
Okay,
we
thank you
can start
everyone.
after this.
Yeah, we can start. Without further ado, the floor is yours, Mr. Ukail.
All right. Thank you so much for passing over the floor. Hello and a very good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is doing amazing on Monday morning, and very much looking forward to our webinar series. First and foremost, on behalf of KPMG Malaysia, I would like to express our sincerest gratitude for inviting our firm here today, right? To be the first, I think the first slot. Not to mention, right? So I I think what we're gonna be, or what I'm gonna be talking today is actually more about the KPMG story, right? So to give everyone a little background about what we do, who we are, and what are the kind of opportunities that we are able to provide to exceptional students such as yourself, right? So I think this ought to be a good start lah for UNIMAC Accounting Society's Accounting Week, as well as the webinar series, right? So as I am presenting my slides or doing my presentation later, if you have any questions, do put them down in the chat box, right? So I think I'm pretty sure after this we're gonna have like a Q&A session, and then if you have any questions, you can also like unmute your microphone if that's possible. If not, you can also just put them in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Just to check, is my audio loud and clear?
Yes, Mr. Ukail, very loud and clear.
All right, awesome. I think, okay, so Webex is better than Zoom, because my laptop sometimes it has problems and issues, not sometimes, all the time with Zoom actually, but I digress. So, okay, so let me just share my screen first, and then we can begin right away actually. Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, are you guys able to see the slides which I'm sharing?
We can't see the slide. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Wait, let me just try it again.
Alright, okay.
Okay, how about now?
Still can't.
Okay, no worries. Let me just do it one more time. Okay, here. Share screen. Oh, okay. Let me give it a second. All right. Okay. So is it appearing on the screen?
Yes, we can see the slide right now. Thank you.
I see. All right. Okay. Awesome. All right. So as mentioned previously, the topic of today, which I'll be presenting to all of you, would be on KPMG story, right? So it's not just about, well, of course, it's about career opportunities, but it's also about how we came about as a multinational professional services firm, right? So, but before that, allow me to introduce myself a little bit further. So my name is Ukail. right? So as our hosts have perfectly mentioned and pronounced, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in finance and accounting management from the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, back in 2020. So I'm not that old, hopefully. Uh, and because I pursued accounting, I also did my professional papers in ICAW. So if you guys have any questions about professional papers, I'm also happy to answer any of your questions regarding that matter. But then during my final year of studies, I received the KPMG ASEAN Scholarship, right? The KPMG ASEAN Scholarship 2019. So again, if you have any questions about that, I can also answer. And as you guys probably are aware, maybe some of you are already aware, KPMG in Malaysia, we have our own student ambassadorship program, right? So back in 2020, I was a KPMG student ambassador myself, right? But now I am on the other side of the program managing it this time, right? So I was a student back then during the first cohort of the ambassadors. Now we are into our third iteration already. So I am one of the program mentors, lah, right? So upon graduation, I actually joined KPMG in its audit department. So I have a stint in the audit department where I was involved in the audit of financial services clients, ranging from an Islamic cooperative bank, an investment holding company, a nominee company, as well as a dormant entity, even, right? So what that means is after I was in audit, I made a career shift lah, into people, performance, and culture, which is my current department, specifically under the talent management and culture team. So originally, when I was in TMC, talent management and culture, I was a consultant talent engagement, and now I have taken up a new portfolio, or I would say additional responsibilities as lead impact KPMG, which is basically leading a task force, like an internal task force within KPMG to drive our ESG aspirations as per our impact plan, right? So in case you guys are wondering what I do, so maybe I can explain that a little bit further. So actually with for the past 2 years. This is also something about KPMG that you guys might want to know, right? So for the past 2 years, KPMG has a new ambition, right? Our ambition is to actually make ESG the watermark in everything that we do. So everything that we do for our people, for our clients, as well as for the community and society at large, we need to ensure that our ESG goals are embedded within our activities, our programs, and things like that. So KPMG globally has actually launched an what we call our impact plan, right? So it translates our ESG into 4 pillars, namely planet, people, prosperity, and governance, right? So every single KPMG member firm in the world, be it KPMG UK, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, Japan, China, Malaysia, whatever it may be, must realize our impact plan. So each member firm have their own team to implement our impact plan. So I am leading that team in Malaysia. So that's basically it, right? So hopefully that has given all of you a little bit of clarification to what I do currently. Okay, so my goal today is, of course, to make KPMG story your story as well, right? So now there is actually a brief video that I would like to show you. Hopefully it's clear for everybody. So it's going to tell you guys a little bit about who we are and how we came about. All right. Okay. So as you can see, KPMG in Malaysia itself has actually set foot or established for quite some time, right? So 1928 is where we actually first established our office in, not Malaysia, I would say, but Malaya, right? Because Malaysia didn't even gain independence yet back then. So our first office is actually in Ipoh, which is where I'm currently in or at the moment, right? Because I'm actually back in the hometown. So what I think one of the things that we pride ourselves in is the fact that we are quite old, right? And for very good reasons, right? Because what that means is that we have actually been part of the Malaysian history or most part of it, for the most part of it, right? So I think this is something every single KPMG is proud of, right? And I would also like to tell everybody a fun fact about KPMG. So in Asia Pacific, Asia Pacific, KPMG in Malaysia is the oldest member firm, right? So we are actually older than KPMG in Indonesia, or even in Thailand, Singapore, in Vietnam, Cambodia, and things like that, right? So again, something a heritage that we are really proud of, I would say, right? But if you were to recall towards the end, there were actually four men, the big four men, right? So those are actually the founding fathers of KPMG, right? So just like any other big fours, the names or the letters in our brand is actually the last name of our founding fathers, right? So KPMG is actually a merger of two large multinational professional services firm who were founded by these four people, right? So Climate, Pitt, Margaret, and Goldler, all of whom were renowned businessmen and accountants of their time, right? And another important fact about KPMG for all of you to know is the fact that, contrary to popular belief, we are not just an accounting, let alone an audit firm, but in actuality, we are more than that. We are, in fact, a professional services firm, because the services that we render to clients vary from a lot of aspects and line of work besides just accounting and audit, which I'll explain a bit later. Okay, so again, I think just like any other companies or firms out there, we also have our own set of purpose as well as values, and these are basically the answer to the question why we are here, right? So at KPMG in Malaysia, we are here to inspire confidence as well as to empower change, right? So not just within the people, not just people within our organization, but also inspire confidence in our clients, as well as in the communities in which we live, right? So the same goes with empowering change. When it comes to values, on the other hand, we are basically guided by five guiding principles, right? So these principles of integrity, excellence, courage, together, and for better are basically our true north, I would say, right? So our moral compass, or every single thing that we do, again, either for clients, for our own people, or for communities, these are the things that will be guiding every single KPMG, not just in Malaysia, but also worldwide, right? Because this is a globally accepted set of values, basically. Now, now I will be moving on to talk about the functions and departments at KPMG, which is something that a lot of students are eager to know, right? Because whenever you ask us about the career opportunities that are available at KPMG, you can expect a multitude of vacancies and opportunities, really. And the fact or the reason is because our functions and departments, we have a lot of them, right? So as I'll be showing you here, so at KPMG, we actually have three service lines, I would say, right? So whenever we say service lines, usually we refer to those departments or functions that are client facing, right? So in my department, people, performance, and culture, we are basically doing like branding, we are doing a recruitment, we are doing HR and things like that. So that is internal. So in our daily work, we do not face clients, right? We do not do like engagements with them, as opposed to when I was in audit, right? We audit a client, right? So we bring in revenue from the clients, things like that. But now I'm in PPC, so it's internal. But these three service line, audit, tax, and advisory, they are client facing. And under each service line, we have multiple departments which are open to not only accounting and finance students, but also others like economics, computer science, engineering, mathematics, political science, and many more, right? So in audit, of course, of course, you have to have an accounting knowledge, right? So audit and assurance, if you studied if you graduate from a degree in accounting and finance, of course, needless to say, you will be able to be part of that department. Enterprise is basically the audit of SMEs, and then actuarial. So whoever is studying actuarial science or interested to know or to dive deeper into the let's say the insurance industry, then they can actually be part in the actual department. And then we have IT audit, right? Trying to ascertain how robust the IT infrastructure of their clients, looking into their internal control systems and working alongside auditors as well in some engagement. And then we have the audit centralization team to help our auditors when it comes to like statutory records audit, when trying to when we talk about like bank confirmation or solicitors confirmation, right? So our audit centralization team is going to help our auditors do that basically. And then Department of Professional Practice is basically the knowledge management team of audit, right? Because accounting standards, accounting, or as well as auditing standards keep changing, right? To cope with the current industry and economic trends. So the Department of Professional Practice will ensure that our auditors have the necessary resources like of knowledge to upskill or reskill whenever necessary, right? Now, the second service line is tax. Again, if you study accounting, or if you study tax, or even law, you can still be part of our tax departments. We have 5 tax departments. Number 1 is corporate tax. Second one is global transfer pricing, and then moving on to tax dispute resolution. Because sometimes our clients they might disagree with the with LHDN, for instance, about a tax figure, right? So they will actually seek our advice to navigate with the necessary procedures to dispute their tax liability, for instance. And then we have global mobility services. Basically, when people, let's say a client is trying to send their staff overseas for a secondment, right? But they do not know, okay, so if this staff is now based in KL, but now, and then if he or she is going to, let's say, Sweden for a secondment, right? So how can we navigate their tax policies and methods accordingly once he or she is transferred to Sweden, things like that. So our global mobility services team will help the clients to ensure that they are in compliance with whatever tax laws in both Malaysia and Sweden in that example. And then last but not least is indirect tax, right? So for example, our SST that would actually be focusing under indirect tax law, right? So the last service line, which is the most diverse of all, would be advisory, right? So advisory is simply another word for consulting. So under advisory, we have 4 arms, right? So under the advisory service line, we have 4 arms. Number 1 is management consulting. The second one is risk consulting, and then technology consulting. And last but certainly not the least, deals advisory, right? So if you were to look at some of the departments like deals advisory, corporate finance, restructuring, or transaction services, so transaction services talks about M&A basically, and restructuring is, let's say a client goes bankrupt, and then the owners, a shareholder, they are basically trying to restructure their company so that the ownership changes from shareholders to debt holders, for instance, right? Yeah. So of course, people who study finance and accounting would be very knowledgeable in that. But if you were to look at technology consulting, we have ITT, IT-enabled transformation, TRC, technology risk and cyber, and Lighthouse, which deals with software and web development as well as data and analytics, right? So accounting and finance people, yeah, you can be part of that as long as you have the necessary skills. But computer science people, or data science, or even engineering with the necessary programming skills, they are more than welcome, right? So actually, most of our people in technology consulting arms are actually from computer science as well as engineering backgrounds. And then we have risk consulting, IRACs, right? So internal audit, risk compliance and services. So people studying political science, studying public policy, studying law can be part of that. Accounting advisory services, and FRM, which stands for financial risk management. If you study accounting, economics, finance, mathematics, can be part of that. And then we also have GNS, governance and sustainability, for people studying environmental science, chemical engineering, and then forensic services, most of the time would be law and accounting. Now, moving up, we have management consulting, S&O, strategy and operations. So strategy on operations, basically anything, like anyone, to be honest. And then shared services and outsourcing advisory, we got people and change. If you study psychology, marketing, you can be part of that. FM, financial management, is, of course, will be accounting. GCMS, as well as procurement advisory services. So if you study logistics, you study supply chain, you study accounting, and you can also be part of those departments. So from these 3 service lines, you can already see that we are not just hiring accounting and finance graduates, but also students or talents from other academic backgrounds, right? So I think this is one of the misconceptions that we would like to correct about KPMG especially, right? So that's why we don't call ourselves an accounting firm, or we don't call ourselves as an audit firm, because not that it is wrong, but it's not accurate, right? So in reality, we are a professional services firms, right? Because we are consistent, or we are comprised of professionals from various backgrounds. Now, those are the service lines, like I mentioned, right? So those are the departments or service lines that are client facing. They bring in the revenue for the firm. But those departments cannot function well without the relevant departments that are working internally to help the business maintain itself, right? So these are basically the business support departments, or in some big four, they call it the support services departments, right? So first we have people, performance and culture, or HR basically, which is the department that I am from. And then we have ITS, we have growth, finance, and so under growth we have like knowledge management, we have markets, we have marketing and communications, and then we have finance and management information system, admin, KPMG Business School, as well as RMD. So in case you guys are wondering, KPMG Business School is basically the department that in charge of the professional development and training of our people, and they also oversee the sponsorship for professional examinations agreement for our people. So you know how auditors, if you go into KPMG and then you are enrolled in our audit department, you will be sponsored automatically to sit for your professional papers. So KBS is the one to see that arrangement lah, to make sure that you do your for example, I'm taking ICW, so they make sure that I attend my ICW classes, or that I do my annual training confirmation, things like that, right? So now, even from business support, our people are diverse, right? So even in my team, under talent management and culture, which the team under PPC, I am studying accounting finance. Anil, I'm pretty sure you guys who are organizing this event, you have your correspondence with my colleague, Mr. Anil, right? So he studied international business management, and then I have my colleague within the same team studying mass comm, psychology, HRM, and yeah, we are really, and environmental science as well, right? So we are very diverse, I would say. And then ITS, of course, I think that goes without saying. Finance, admin, and then RMD lah. RMD, we have people from law, as well as, well, most of the time we have people from law lah, right? So as you can see, even business support departments are quite diverse when it comes to the people running the departments themselves, right? So speaking of the sponsorship agreement, so this is a little bit of the background or details regarding the agreement, right? So but if you were to look below, those are the most commonly I would say the most popular and common professional institutions that our people are a part of lah. Like ICW, CPA, Australia, as well as McPA would be the most common for auditors. But then when it comes to advisory, there's a lot, right? So there's like there is the project management, and then there is like professional papers for IT auditors, and then we have CIMA for our strategy and operations people, and then we have CTIM for tax consultants, and many more, right? So what this agreement entails is that you are going to be bonded with KPMG for 4 years, basically, because 4 years is 3 to 4 years is basically what you need to complete that professional working experience component of these papers, and then you'll be granted like 80,000 ringgit to claim for any of your study materials, your exam fees, your annual subscriptions, tuition fees, and many more. And then you will also be granted 1 day exam leave and 5 days study leave for every single attempt of the paper, right? So for example, ICW has 15 papers, so you will get like 1 day exam leave 15 times and 5 days study leave 15 times, right? So but only for the first attempt of each paper lah, right? Because if you fail like once and then you try to apply for leave, then we will only give you the exam day leave, but not the study leave, the 5 days study leave. And then last but not least is rewards and prizes. So not only that we give you money to sit for the exam in the first place, but we also incentivize you with cash prizes should you pass those papers with flying colors, right? So We give you money to sit for the exam, and we give you money even more if you pass those exams or win international awards. Right? You know how like ACCA has like the international prize winners and things like that, right? So our people who won those awards will be incentivized with cash prizes now. Right. So why is KPMG the best place to work? Right? I know it is completely subjective, but that this is actually one of our aspirations to make sure that especially the younger generation, the young talents, actually look forward to work at KPMG because of its culture, right? So, and the first one is the tailored graduate and student programs. So at KPMG, we actually have three programs. Well, one student program and two graduate programs. The student program is, of course, the KPMG Ambassadorship Program. They are basically our official campus representatives aim to bridge the gap between KPMG in Malaysia and basically the student communities at their respective campuses. So the requirements, hopefully it's clear, you know, like 3.5 and above or first class honors. We want people with exemplary leadership and communication skills and things like that. So one of their benefits is that they will be guaranteed one internship placement. They will be part of our employee activities. They will have a fast track for permanent placement. They will also they have the opportunity for social connections within the ambassadors themselves, as well as our ambassadors overseas, right? So this year is quite interesting. It's quite a historical moment for us because we have officially established our KPMG Ambassadorship Program UK chapter, right? So in Malaysia, we have 12 participating universities comprising of private as well as public universities across Malaysia. But in the UK, we have only 20 ambassadors, but from 6 universities, like London School of Economics, University of Warwick, Imperial College London, King's College London, University of Edinburgh, many more, right? So, and in Malaysia, we have 98 ambassadors, but in the UK, we have 20 ambassadors, right? So hopefully next year we will expand to Australia, hopefully, right? So the second and third programs here are basically the graduate programs, meaning if you are a recent graduate or you are about to graduate, then you can be part of this. Basically, both of them are rotational graduate programs. The advisory is a 2-year program in which you are able to rotate between 4 out of the 15, 16 advisory departments that I've just shown earlier within the span of 2 years. So one department per 6 months, and you get to choose whichever department that you want. And you also have the mentorship opportunity by our partners in advisory. The tax trackers is quite similar, but instead of 2 years, it is only 6 months, and you get to rotate between 2 out of the 5 tax departments. Again, you have the opportunity to be mentored by our tax partner, right? So, in case you guys are still wondering, when we say partners, why do Big Four call the leaders or the top management or the bosses, I would say, right, partners? And the reason for that is because in like Big Four firms, basically, we are a partnership, right? So basically, if let's say you and your friend are trying to open up a business, it can be any business, F&B, car, burger, and then you put in your capital, right? And then, hey, you and I, we are a partner in this business, and then we hire employees, we rent the services, we produce products, and at the end of the day, you get profits from your business. So those are the partners. So basically, when we say partners, we are essentially talking about the owners of the firm, right? So by a technicality. So again, but anyway, so that's just for your general knowledge, so that you know why. Okay. Okay, so these are some other additional benefits about the advisory East program as well as the requirements, right? But the thing is, if you are someone who aspires to be a consultant, but you do not yet know which focus areas you want to be venturing into, either management consulting, risk consulting, or technology consulting, or this advisory, then this might be the right program for you, right? Because you can have a taste of different consulting arms, basically, and then at the end of the 2 years, you get to choose which department you want to be attached to, right? And then at the end of the 2 years, you also be promoted automatically to senior associate should you meet the expectations during your job throughout the 2 years, right? And then the tax trackers is also the same, right? So if you are aspiring tax consultant, you are basically figuring out whether you want to be in corporate tax or indirect tax, right? For instance, then might as well you try out both. So you can be in each department for 3 months, and then at the end of the total 6 months, you get to choose which department you want to be a part of, right? This is the ambassadorship program, right? So again, like I said, we want this is basically a student program, right? So we want students who are not just doing well within their classroom but outside the classroom as well. So if let's say a student is good in academics and on top of that they are active in volunteering activities, club and societies, exchange programs, they take part in business challenges, things like that, right? So we want those kind of people and individuals, aspiring individuals, to be our campus champions, basically, right? Now, this is okay. So the Education Trust Fund. Now, this is actually also something that has been launched. I think in February, in early February, like 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks ago. This is actually one of the signature programs under our impact plan, right? So in KPMG in Malaysia, which is the Education Trust Fund. So the Education Trust Fund is actually aimed to champion quality education by empowering deserving communities such as the B40 communities, right? So it will where okay. So under this program, we are actually introducing 3 sponsorship program and 1 scholarship program. So the 3 sponsorship programs are as follows. We have the Young Spark sponsorship program, where we are actually going to sponsor primary as well as secondary students who are from the B40 background and communities. So we give them like school essentials, one off. The second one is the Young Star Sponsorship Program, which is for B40 tertiary education students, right? So if like that B40 student is studying in matriculation or pre-U or colleges or any universities, local universities, your local public universities, then we are going to give them a one-off financial aid as well. And then the Young Asset Sponsorship Program is for KPMG, children of KPMGs, right? Because at the same time we are sponsoring or helping our surrounding communities, we also need to take into consideration our own people as well, right? So that's why we have the Young Excellence program. And last but not least is the ASEAN Scholarship Program, right? So this is the only scholarship program that we have. So the ASEAN Scholarship Program has been around since 2015, but since the launch of the Education Trust Fund, we have actually parked the ASEAN Scholarship Program under the Education Trust Fund, right? So this is the same ASEAN Scholarship Program that I was a recipient of 3 years ago, right? So you basically scholars are given like a 1,200 ringgit, sorry, 12,000 ringgit. 1,200 is 1,200. No, 12,000 ringgit per academic year. Mentorship, structured mentorship by KPMG partner, guaranteed placement after graduation in any department of our preference, and 2 internship placement, 1 in Malaysia and 1 in a participating ASEAN country, either in Indonesia, Indonesia, Cambodia, in Vietnam and Thailand. Yes. Okay. So those are basically the one of the few benefits or few of the many benefits of the ASEAN Scholarship Program, right? Because on top of that, you also be able to take part in our employee programs, our CSR activities, our annual dinner, which I attended 3 years ago, and then many more. So I think, but the ASEAN Scholarship Program, this is not for B4, just for B40, it's for everyone, right? So if you but the rest but the Young Spark and Young Star, once the application has opened, then you can actually apply if let's say you know anyone, or you can spread the news basically, right? So we are more than happy to accept any applications. But the ASEAN Scholarship Program, this is open to any any Malaysian students studying in any universities in Malaysia. So the ambassadorship program is limited to 12 universities, right? But for the ASEAN Scholarship, anybody can actually apply and be granted that opportunity. And it also has actually a very fun application process as well. So you submit your online application, do your online assessment, do a phone interview, and then you are going to have like an actual interview that is comprised of 3 parts within the interview day. So you have like number 1, you have an essay writing. You are given 45 minutes to complete an essay. And then you have a case study interview where you are going to be put into a group of 3 to 4 people. And then you are going to solve a case and present them in front of a panel of judges. And then they are going to put your solution under scrutiny by asking you challenging questions, to challenge your stance basically. And the third part is basically a one-on-one interview with like a partner within KPMG, right? So I think it's very fun. It's not that long compared to some other management training programs, that I know of. But still, I think based on my personal experience, I thoroughly enjoyed the application process of the ASEAN Scholarship Program. Okay, so another thing that's very interesting about KPMG is also about its clear-cut progression, right? So, at KPMG, it's not just that people know what their next grade is going to be, but they also can actually accurately estimate how long it will take them, right? Because an audit is quite straightforward. You'll become an associate for the first 2 years. In your third year as a senior associate, the next 2 years as assistant manager, the next 3 years as a manager, the next another 3 years as senior manager, the next 2 years as director, and after that you're going to be an executive director, if not partner, straight away, right? So if you were to graduate at the age of 22, let's say, so by 35, 36, you already become a partner. So that's quite early now, right? And after partner, there's only like a senior partner, right? So there's nothing title wise, there's nothing more, right? So unless you are, of course, in the board of directors of KPMG, then there's a different case. But it's pretty clear cut, I would say. And the same goes, I think the same is applicable to tax and advisory as well as business support. So this is very good because if you aspire to become an audit partner one day, right, so you can actually chart down your career path and you know your timeline basically. And so this for students or aspiring students and young talents, this is something that you might want to consider. The next one is our awesome culture, right? So this is something that we aspire to improve every single year, basically, right? So at KPMG, we have networking groups. We have the book club, the Toastmasters club, the Lean In Circle, and we have KPMG Pegasus even. You know, KPMG Pegasus is basically a group of KPMGians who are motorcycle enthusiasts. So they would ride from Petaling Jaya Bandar Utama, where our HQ is, up until Pahang lah, to Perlis lah, and then come back, things like that. And we have many more, like KPMG Sports Club. We have the, like I said, the Toastmasters, and many more, right? So I think networking groups is quite common at KPMG because, people, sometimes you might not be in the same department when working, but you have other similar interests outside of work. So why not we actually put those people together, right? And then we also have the mental health assistants. So we actually have appointed mental health aiders that is appointed across the departments. So these mental health aiders are our buddies basically. So they have actually undergone like relevant training to become mental health aiders. So if anybody in the department wants to speak about the mental health, but they don't want to speak to their bosses, they can actually talk to these people lah, right? Festive gifts is another benefit, right? So sometimes during Deepavali, Chinese New Year, Hari Raya, as well as Christmas, we will give like care packages lah to our people, especially to our ambassadors. And then we also have the Golden Week, which is 1 week off on top of your annual leave during the month of September. So 1 week in September, everybody, the whole firm in Malaysia, in KPMG in Malaysia, is closed down. Right, so you don't have to work. You don't have to worry because everybody is also on leave, so they won't be bothering you. Next one is global opportunities. So this is a mobility program. So even at KPMG, people are able to be seconded in other member firms because KPMG is present in over 146 countries in the world. So if you want to work in, let's say, KPMG Houston, Texas in the US, or KPMG in Canary Wharf in the UK, London in the UK, for instance, right? Or KPMG in Sydney or Hong Kong, things like that. So you can actually be part of this global opportunity programs, right? And then we also have a multi-generational workforce, more and more associates. We actually have, for the past 1.5 and 2 years, we have been recruiting a lot of associates, right? And then they are very young because, especially if they take up professional papers, meaning they don't have a degree. So like when I was an audit, and I was 22 when I was an audit, and then I have someone in my team who's 20, was already in the audit team, not as an intern now, as a full-time associate. So you have that, but at the same time, you also have people who's like 40 plus, 50 plus, so there are a lot of generations in the workforce, so it adds more color into our culture, because sometimes if we only have young people, or conversely, or not so young people, then it's going to be like a bit plain now. So, but this is something new, right? And plus 9 non-hierarchical hierarchical as well, right? Of course, in the larger scale of things, we have our executive committee, our partners, and things like that. But then within the groups itself, sometimes when we do work, there's not much power distance, like you can see. Even when you are actually invited to contribute towards a team meeting, you will be treated as your seniors equal, right? So you don't feel like inferior or anything lah. So because we want to make sure that our people feel welcome every single time they are working, so that's why we try to instill that kind of culture as well. Now, so these are some of the events that we have. Live comedy by Douglas Lim. We have that breast cancer talk by Dr. Amalina Chibakri. Vaccination talk by Dr. Amanda. Mental health talks by Dr. Ami from UM. Yoga session with Atilia Harun. I'm sure you guys know her. Prostate cancer. We have many doctors, so can't remember their name. Hit workout with Kevin Zahri. Body combats with Kevin Zahri. Coffee sessions with our partners, and then interdepartmental sports. Before this, we even participated in the inter-accounting firm games where we compete against EY, PwC, Deloitte, Grant Thornton, other firms now, to play like our own version of Olympics and things like that. Now, speaking about global mobility, so these are some of people who have actually undergone like overseas secondment, right? So Chang Pei Wen, she's the senior manager in audit. Fu Qingming is also a senior manager on audit, but they went to Hong Kong and Japan respectively, right? So this is actually one of our signature programs also, the Global Opportunity, because it helps our people with three things: professional development, strategic engagement, as well as social connection, right? So but this program is only open to those who are professionally qualified, right? So if you join KPMG but you have yet to finish your ACCA, for example, then you cannot now. So you have to make sure that you finish your ACCA, you are a chartered accountant, and that your rating is good, right? So you consistently exceeds performance expectation. Then will you be shortlisted to go for this overseas secondment, because we have a quota every single year, and it's quite competitive as well, right? We want to make sure only the best of talents are prepared to go overseas now, because sometimes imagine if you're not professionally qualified and then you want to go to Japan and you don't speak any Japanese, in fact, and you don't know how to survive or navigate yourself, it's going to be really hard, because in some countries English might not be as widely spoken, right? If you go to the UK, maybe it's going to be relatively easier, but if you go to China and you don't speak Mandarin, or if you go to Japan and you don't speak Japanese, right? Not to mention you're also not professionally qualified yet, so it's going to be really, really tough for you to persevere, right? So we want to make sure that those people that go overseas for secondment are well prepared for their work, right? So these are again the networking groups I mentioned just now. We have the Toastmasters Club, right? So in some universities, they have their Toastmasters Club, just like in KPMG. We also have like an official KPMG Toastmasters Club, and then a lean-in circle. So a lean-in circle is basically KPMGs coming together to talk about a particular topic, because people, they have their own opinions. Again, this is made possible because we have a multi-generational workforce, right? So if everyone is millennial, everyone is a millennial within community, let's say. So then the opinion, the life experience, more pretty much is going to be the same, right? But if we have people who is a boomer and then who is from the Gen X guy, I don't know, but it's going to be more interesting when we have this kind of discussion, right? And then we also have KPMG book clubs, because we get recognized that some KPMGs are bookworms, right? And they really want to talk about the books that they have read, so that's why we have established that. And we also have like a diverse workforce. So this is actually some of my team members, by the way. So the average age is 26. That's quite young. I'm not 26 yet, just FYI. But it's still quite young, I would say, average age of 26, right? But which means that a lot of our people are actually at the younger spectrum of the age. At the younger end of the age spectrum, basically, right? But then when it comes to nationalities, we have 24, but I would say like 98% of them are actually expatriates, right? Because when it comes to hiring talents for fresh graduate placement, we actually almost don't hire international students, right? So if you guys have any international students in this session, in this call today, so do keep in mind about that. However, we do hire international students for internships if your internship is a mandatory part of your curriculum, right? Otherwise, we don't really, unless you are an experienced hire, macam a senior assistant manager, manager, director, and you are not from Malaysia, that is fine, right? But for fresh graduate, we actually only open it up to Malaysian nationals. Okay, so I think this is also one of our goals lah, right? Especially when it comes to the young talents. We are here to empower the future generation of leaders lah, through our programs, our culture, and things like the mobility secondment opportunities and many things that I've talked before, right? So if you're wondering why we are doing that, it's because of this, right? So we are trying to be forward-looking, right? Because we know that the people that are, as more and more people coming into our firm year by year, they are going to be in the a newer generation, right? So things that they value and focus on is different. So we're trying to keep up with that, basically, right? So if you want to know more about the career opportunities that are available at KPMG in Malaysia, you could kindly scan this QR code, and then you are able to filter out the vacancies that we have per departments as well as branches. Because KPMG in Malaysia, we have 8 offices. 4 in Peninsula Malaysia and another 4 in East Malaysia, right? So we have in, we have in Petaling Jaya, we have in Penang, we have in Perak, in JB, and then we have 1 in Labuan, 2 in Sarawak, and 1 in Sabah. Right, yeah. So 8 offices, 8 branch offices basically. And Petaling Jaya Bandar Utama, next to One Utama Shopping Mall, as well as Sri Pentas would be the headquarters lah. And of course, most of the vacancies will be coming from the headquarters, right? But if let's say you have any travel restrictions and you happen to live in Penang or Kuching or Miri atau Labuan, then you still want to intern with us, then of course you can be part of our firm lah, by making sure that there is a vacancy in the branch office, right? But still, regardless, I encourage you guys to scan this QR code, right? But if you want to know more about KPMG in Malaysia, such as our industrial involvements, our thought leadership publications, our student programs, career opportunities, employee internal activities, and things like that, do follow us on social media, right? So our online presence range from Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as Facebook, right? So especially on Instagram, we would actually utilize our IG story functionality to post like a recap of events that we do, right? So if you want to know more, so KPMG Malaysia seems interesting. I want to know more about the future activities that they're going to have, right? So you can also follow us or catch us on social media, because we also post our future events there. And on top of that, do follow our KPMG ambassadors as well, right? Because the activities that they do are in line with what we are doing, right? Because when they do workshops, webinars, forum session, business challenges that they do, they always have our staff, our people from audit or advisory as the judge, as the speaker, things like that, right? So even when they do events, they actually are supported by myself and my team, Mr. Anil and Ms. Amalina, right? So yeah, even if you attend our ambassadors event, that is as good as attending like KPMG's event, because again, they are our official campus representatives, right? And yeah, so these are the first 4 universities. These are the second 4, right? Perhaps you have any friends maybe in any of the universities, perhaps. And then these are the final 4 universities, right? Last but certainly not the least, I would also like to bring all of you to this voting page, right? So at KPMG, our vote is important to us, not just so that it can help us to stack up against other industry players, but more so than that, it will help us to understand your expectations much better, right? So that we could also tailor our activities, our engagement sessions like this in a much more effective manner to serve you guys, the student community, much better as well, right? So do keep in mind that KPMG Malaysia is in these 2 awards, right? These are actually 2 separate awards: Graduates Choice Award, which we won number 9 overall, over 2,300 employers, and we were ranked number 1 in accounting and professional services and number 2 in consulting, right? And then the second award is the Malaysia's 100 which is the M100 lah, which we got number 3 in both accounting as well as consulting categories, right? So we are in 2 awards, and under each award we are in 2 categories, right? So just keep in mind lah, right, about that fact. The accounting professional services category, number 1, and number 2, the consulting category. Right. So if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll be more than happy to do so with you. If you have any question that you would like to ask me about KPMG, about professional papers, about the culture at KPMG, about what I do, things like that, then do drop me a connection request and ask away lah, right? Because but at the same time, do keep in mind that I also have other connection requests and questions from students across Malaysia. So it's going to take a while for me to respond to your LinkedIn messages, but I'll strive to do it as soon as possible. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Hopefully, this has been really, really informative for all of you. Hopefully, this has actually shed light not only into KPMG but the professional services industry, because some of the things that I presented will be quite similar to other big fours as well, right? Whenever, especially when I talk about advisory, tax, audit, but of course the culture, the programs, the signature program opportunity will be different. But hopefully this again has give you a good start towards your accounting week, right? Okay, so yeah, I think that would be all from me. I guess we can actually move on to the Q&A session, if that's okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, we will move on to the Q&A session. Technical team, you may share the screen with the Slido platform now. All right, the students may put your questions in the Slido link that has been provided in the chat box, or you may scan the QR code as you can see from the screen. And also, if you think your question has been written in the Slido, give it a thumbs up. All right, Mr. Okail, are you ready for the Q&A session?
Yes.
Okay, is it okay if I read out the questions for you and you can answer it?
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, so for the first question, can under average students with no involvement during their degree time join KPMG?
Well, I'm just going to be frank with all of you, because okay, so if you were to look at our own perspective, like there's a lot of accounting students in Malaysia, and to be honest, like I said, the opportunities that we have are not only open to accounting but also various degree backgrounds. So what that means is that we have thousands and thousands of applications every single year, right? So it's not to say that if you are an under average student, you will definitely not get an opportunity to join KPMG. It's just that your likelihood and your chances is going to be lower, relatively lower, to those who do have involvement or active involvement during that degree time, right? Because to be honest, even if you have good academic records, that still does not guarantee that you're going to be part of KPMG, because we also have applicants who have good academic records but also have a track record in extracurricular activities, right? So imagine if there's only one position but we have 2 people, both 4.0 CGPA, but another one is very, very, very active in sports clubs and societies. Another one has no involvement whatsoever. So which one would we choose, right? So it's not that we say that you are a bad candidate. It's just that when you are involved in extracurricular activities, it gives us a sense of assurance that, oh, this person is an ambitious person. He has goals. He or she has goals. He or she is able to manage his or her time very well, is able to manage multiple commitments at the same time very well, things like that, right? So make sure. So the moral of the story is, if you want to increase your chances of getting into KPMG or any other companies for that matter, please ensure that you are really, really active in your extracurricular activities. So to be honest with you, I can explain my personal anecdote. Over 50% of my time that I spend during university is actually on club and society, right? So more than my academics, but of course I make sure that I earn this class. So in Nottingham we don't use CGPA, right? We use first class or second class upper, things like that. So I make sure that I earn first class, but not to an extent that I'm number 1 in my class, because I wasn't, right? But I do have friends who are, but then it would actually this is a trade-off, right? Because to me, as long as I gain first class, But at the same time, I'm a president of a club, I'm a student ambassador, I got scholarship, and then I was in volunteering, blah, exchange. I think that is more important to me, right? And then luckily, my plan turned out well, right? So I think even if you are active in extracurricular, don't ever disregard your academics. Academics is still important, but it's not the only thing that's important, right? So again, the moral of the story is please make sure that you find opportunities to be involved during your degree time.
All right. Okay. So I guess we need to balance out between our academic and also extracurricular activities. All right. So for the next question, what is the basic salary for fresh graduate bachelor students
Okay.
in KPMG?
So
Just roughly, maybe just roughly.
okay. Well, actually, there's a lot though, because if you to look at the okay, so let's talk about special programs, the advisory Ace and test trackers. So their salary is at the higher end of 3K, which almost reaches 4K, for example, right? So I'm gonna, but I won't tell you the amount lah, but it's more, right? But when it comes to other non-special, other vacancies that are not under the special programs, so not advisory Ace, not test trackers, it will depend on your situation, right? So if you are not if you don't active, then you earn like slightly less than 3. But if you do that, it's going to be about with 3.
I think Mr. Ukan is reconnecting. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Oh yeah, right now can.
Hear you right now.
Just now it's breaking just now.
Oh, okay, I see.
All right. Okay. So maybe we can move on to the third question. There are
Okay.
so many branches and career opportunities. So what's your advice in choosing suitable career path?
I think you should never let your degree define you, but rather try to follow your passion now. You know, I studied accounting and finance, but I am very interested in the people's business lah. Either people advisory ke atau people perform talent management, talent development, communications, organization design, things like that. You know, like behavior, like change management, things like that. Those are my passion. Although I studied finance, accounting, and management, so that is why I pursued a career. That's why I did a career shift, right? And career shifts are not fatal lah. I think as long as you know what you want to do, what you are good at, what your goals are, I think that is possible. So there are so many branches at career opportunity. Well, branches again, I think that's straightforward. Like it depends, right? But to me, I would say go to the HQ lah, because more opportunities are there, and then we have more people there. And then our office has just been newly renovated, by the way, so it's really nice. So do come to the HQ. But when it comes to the career opportunities, I cannot tell you what your line of work should be, right? So ultimately, you know yourself, right? So even if you're studying accounting, but you think you are more interested in tax, although a lot of your friends ask you to go into audit first, then why don't you just go into tax, because that's what you really want, right? And plus, we are still young. We are still young to kind of explore, actually, right? So even if you graduate in 22, retirement age at KPMG 60, let's say lah, 22, and then you have 38 years of working. But then for the first year you spend in tax, you think that tax is not actually my forte. I want to go into consulting, and you think, oh my god, I just wasted 1 year of my life. Well, actually, you know what? You still have 37 years of working, right? So there's still a lot of time. So I think you just have to be brave enough to listen to what you want, I would say, right? But of course, that is the philosophical part of the answer. But if you want to know about the direct part of the answer, you just have to make sure that whatever line of work you want to join, you meet the minimum requirements. You have the technical competencies. Because if let's say you're studying accounting, but then you think that you want to be in data analytics, but you yourself don't want to learn programming, of course that's not going to be possible. So make sure that yes, while you do follow your heart and your passion, make sure that technical wise, competency wise, you also meet the requirements.
All right, true, Mr. Okail. Okay, don't let the degree defines you, and please follow your passion and also your dream. All right, for the next question, does auditing in real life different when what we learn from university? Because some of the students have no idea what they learn in the university.
Well, I think auditing in real life, it's gonna be different lah, right? Number one is that in real life, it's gonna be more tiring, right? There's gonna be like peak periods, long working hours, deadlines, things like that, right? But I think the okay lah. So because I studied audit as well in my university, and one of the main differences that I found is the fact that sometimes the questions about audit, they can be really straightforward what you learn, right? But when it comes to real life auditing, sometimes your client themselves don't know accounting. Sometimes your clients, they make mistakes, right? Sometimes there's like a new element introduced in your audit engagement. When I was in audit, the clients actually changed their IT system. Okay, so that actually was it caused the engagement to be really hectic lah, and because we have to do more testing lah and everything and sampling. So I think these unexpected or unforeseen punya elements is are what makes the auditing in real life more challenging, right? But at the same time, when it is more challenging, it also means that there's more opportunity for learning lah, right? So I think those are the primary differences. But if you ask me about the actual audit like methods and procedures, when you talk about macam test of controls ke, substantive analytical procedures, yeah, those are basically the same thing that you do, but the way you do it will be differently lah, because you have your actual audit working paper, the actual audit workflow punya platform to do it on, right? But on the general sense, yes, what you study in audit, that is what you are going to use. So if you want to go into audit, make sure that you really understand audit in what you study in university lah, because that is as simple as it gets, right? It's only going to get tougher once you enter the workforce as a actual auditor.
So it's important for us to understand the basic concepts of audit itself. Okay, all right.
Yes.
So for the next question, how to increase my chances of being accepted at intern at KPMG?
Well, I think first and foremost, the thing that you have to do is to make sure that your CGPA is high as possible. The minimum is 3.2, but that's just minimum requirement. If you can get 4.0, why not? So that will definitely increase your chances. Number two is to make sure that you are also very, very active in extracurricular activities, be it club and societies, be it sports, business challenges, whatever it may, volunteering, whatever it may be. Make sure that those are also evident in your CV lah, so that when we go over your CV, we can see that you are not only doing well within the classroom, but also beyond the classroom as well. And then you also need to make sure that you ace the interview lah, right? Because for at KPMG, when it comes to internship, there's only one interview, which is with my team. So when it comes to interview, we're not going to ask you like technical stuff or anything, but most of that we just want to know about your aspiration, right? So if you are a good student inside the classroom and outside the classroom, and on top of that, you also know what you want to become, what you want to do at the current moment, that it will definitely increase your chances, right? Because sometimes students they are smart and they are like very active, but then at the same time they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I mean, that's gonna be a bit of thing lah for us, because we are not gonna tell you what department you should join. I mean, we can give you advice, but we cannot dictate your path for you. So we want people who are self-aware, who are determined, and who are visionaries, right? So they know what their ambition is. I'm not saying that your ambition cannot change. My ambition also changed. When I was a student, I wanted to become an audit partner, but look where I am. But still, I'm enjoying what I do again. So, but at the current moment, we just want to know, okay, what now? What do you want to do? Things like that. So make sure that you are good in academics, active in extracurricular, know what you want, is the interview, yeah, and you are set to go.
All right, that's nice, Mr. Okail. And as what Aina said just now, we need to have a clear vision for our future. All right, for the next question, okay, what makes you choose to take ICA EW instead of other professional papers?
Okay, so I think this is actually one of the very interesting questions that I always got. Even when I was a student and when I go to like external events with ICMS, for instance, then I meet people studying ACCA and they will ask me like, why do I take ICW and ICCA and things like that? It's because when I choose a professional qualification, I look beyond the number of papers or the cost of the program and things like that. Some people they choose professional papers because, oh, I take this because it has less papers, or I take this because the exam is open book. But you have to understand what these professional qualifications are actually, right? On the most fundamental level and intricate manner, these professional qualifications are in actuality memberships, right? So instead of asking yourself, how many papers do you want to do? What you should ask is, which community, which membership organization do you want to be a part of? Not just now, but long after you have graduated, right? So, and I myself, I choose ICW because I wanted to be part of the ICW community. Although it has 15 papers and ACA has only 13 papers, or MECPA even has even less, I still take out ICW because of the community, right? So the community, and then if you were to research about ICW, it has like a prominent like history and footprint in the UK and Europe. Basically, it's actually the largest professional body in Europe, but in the world by membership, of course, is ACCA. But still, the history and the role it plays in the industry, and then the ICW members that we have in Malaysia, right? Some of our the CFO and CEOs of our renowned organization, macam Petronas, Sangabi, and many more. They're all ICW members, so that's why I want to be part of that community, lah, right? And plus, ICW also in terms of the qualifications and all that they give the charteredship to its members, but it also has a lot of other certificates in DNA lah, in charity accounting lah, in sustainability. So their aspirations towards continuous learning very appeal to me. So that's why I want to be part of ICW now, right? So when I ask this kind of question to students also, whenever I do interview, I also expect this kind of answer, because it shows that they really know what they're doing, want to do, right? So if they say, oh, I want to take this because it has less paper, well, that I don't think that is, because this qualification membership is going to be with you until you are old, right? So are you saying that the number of papers is a determinant of the long membership that you are going to be part of, right? So I don't think that makes sense. So that is basically my opinion.
All right, true, Mr. Okail. We need to think carefully when it comes to our future and also anything that involves our future. All right, so we still have around 12 questions. Is it okay for you, Mr. Okail?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, for the next question, what are the top skills needed to be a KPMGian or KPMG family?
I think one of the top skills is to have a people skills, because at KPMG we are a professional services firm in which we do not produce products but rather render services, right? So we are going to engage with a lot of stakeholders, from our clients, from government officials, student bodies, government agencies, foundations and charities when we do CSR, student bodies and career service centers when we do student activities, clients when we do work, things like that again. So we need people who are comfortable enough to actually connect with people from various backgrounds in different scenarios, right? So I think that's very important, because if you have like the necessary people skills, then you are also going to be comfortable dealing with other departments internally, work with others within your own team, things like that. Again, so that's very, very much important. I think when it comes to technical skills, that goes without saying, because I don't want to say, oh, if you want to work as an auditor, you need to have audit skills. Well, that is self-explanatory. But what some people don't realize is to have the people skills, because if you work in KPMG, even if you know all the auditing and accounting standards somehow, but you are very timid when it comes to talking to others, you are going to have a hard time working at KPMG. Yeah. So that would be one of the top skills that you need to have, I would say.
True. Even when we are as students, we also need these people skills for us to survive in the students and also work updates.
Yeah.
All right. So for the next question, I think this is about the internship. How do we excel in the interviews?
So there are many ways to excel in an interview. Number one, I think it's very important that so I think there are like three stages that you can look into. Like the pre-interview stage is where you are going to research about the role you're applying for. You're going to do some research about the companies you want to work at, or even if you know the interviewer's name already before the interview itself, you can research a little bit about him or her, right? So that you can tailor your answers accordingly, not to sound like you are not being genuine or at all, but you just want to make sure that things you say are able to relate to him or her as well, the interviewer can. So that's important. And then you must do a lot of practice, right? So when it comes to practice, people say that practice in front of mirror and things like that, but I actually prefer to practice in front of a living human being, because sometimes when you give your answer, you don't know if you answer. You talk in front of mirror, sometimes you don't know if your answer makes sense or not, right? But if you train in front of another person, you can look at their facial expression. If they are enlightened, if they are excited to what you have to say, that means you are doing a good job lah. But if you practice in front of a person and then they pun macam confused about what you are saying, that means that probably you have to actually amend your answer, make it more comprehensive, coherent, things like that. So that's number one. And then do expect frequently asked questions. Tell me about yourself. Why do you apply for this job? Why do you want to work at this company? If you cannot even, and what's your biggest strength, or what is your greatest weakness, things like that. Because these are simple questions. There are no right or wrong. But if you still have a hard time to answer this question, that means that you need a lot of practice. That's the pre-interview stage. During the interview stage, make sure that you keep the eye contact, make sure that you are confident, you act professionally. If you're doing a virtual interview, make sure that your background is good, you don't have any interruptions, things like that, and make sure that you speak in a professional tone and manner, and don't and listen carefully lah, because you want to refrain from asking the interviewer to repeat their questions, kan? And then the post-interview, make sure that you send a thank you note lah, either through email ke apa, but then do not follow up too hastily, because then you will seem too desperate, kan? So yeah, so those are one of the so this is a very brief method on how to excel in an interview, I would say.
So this is a very important for us and make a research before undergo to the interview.
Yes.
So for the next question is, I think it's a very interesting question. What was your experience in joining the workforce as a consultant, and why did you choose that path?
Well, that's because my role was a consultant talent engagement, right? Because talent engagement allows me to meet new people, especially young talents like you guys, giving them advice onto their career opportunities, trying to open doors for them, trying to share my own experiences, my learning lessons, and things like that. So that's why I actually joined this workforce as a consultant talent engagement back then. Right, and on top of that, I also have a strong affinity to working with people. So what that means is that I constantly find opportunities to bring together a group of like-minded individuals to strive, activate, and run towards the same cause. And so that has always been my personality, and that is why to be a consultant in talent engagement was like second nature to me, lah. Right. So, but again, it comes back to the story, lah. It comes back to the thing I mentioned before. You just have to follow what you want, right? So not what your degree says, you can. So I know because I know that sometimes I cannot deny that sometimes I do feel like, oh, but I studied accounting for 3 years though, kan macam rugi if I don't go into audit. But then again, but if I do go into audit, but if I'm not happy about it, then why should I, right? So I think it's not because knowledge is still knowledge lah. You won't actually lose from learning good knowledge, can. So I think I just move on from that, and I made a decision to join as a consultant, and I have been happy ever since lah. Right, and plus it enables me to do what I've loved doing. Even I've loved doing ever since I was a school student, even being clubs and societies, things like that. So that is why I wanted to join as a consultant now.
Okay, that's what that was I can see that the important is do something that you're passionate about so that you can give more.
Yes.
And then the next question is, can you talk a little bit more on Asian Scholarship Program? What's your experience and how can we apply for it?
So I applied for the ASEAN Scholarship Program back in 2019. I actually wanted to apply in 2018, but then when I look over my CV, I was really unsatisfied with my CV because I didn't really have much to offer to KPMG, right? Because that was my mindset going into the application process, is making sure that I have things that I could offer to the firm, right? So that's also your mindset going into the interview, actually, going back to the interview question just now. So whenever, just make sure that whenever you answer a question, you answer in a way in which you are trying to say that I can be a valuable asset to the team, I can contribute, things like that, instead of just asking what they can give you in return. So again, back in 2018, I wanted to apply, but then I was really dissatisfied with my CV. So that is why I bumped up my grades to first class honors. I went to the exchange. I went to a volunteering global volunteering exchange program in China, in Shenzhen, China, with Isaac. And then I went to a semester exchange program in the UK. I took up a role as the chief project director in my Wall Street Society, and then of course I was involved in other extracurricular activities. But grades are very important, so I bumped it to first class honors. And then I researched a lot about KPMG, connected with former ASEAN scholars, connect with KPMG staff on LinkedIn, like what you guys are doing. Yeah, so I did that, the same thing as well. And then, come 2019, a year later, I was ready. I was prepared. And then, thankfully, it was one of the best interview I had now. Right, the online application, online test was really generic, just like any other application process. But the interview day was really interesting because, like I said, we have like case study interview in groups, right? We have the essay writing, we have the one-on-one interviews. I was really passionate about that. I was looking forward to that day because I've been waiting for a year again. So that's why I was really in high spirit going into the interview room. So, and then when I got it, I was lost. I was lost for words, but at the same time, I was really, really satisfied, because everything that I've done, the plan that I had for a year, turned out to work, right? So, so ever since that, I think I would say that would be one of the best interview moments that I have, right? So, but then moving post ASEAN scholarship, right? So I've actually been invited to like numerous KPMG internal events, so which allows me to meet other ASEAN scholars from KPMG Indonesia and Thailand juga. And then also get to meet be involved in our annual dinners and things like that alongside the KPMG partners, right? So yeah, so it has been a cool experience. I would definitely encourage everyone to apply now. But again, the application for 2022 unfortunately has closed, right? It was closed back in end of January. So if you guys want to apply, you can apply for the next round for 2023, right? But if you are in your final year of study, you unfortunately won't be able to apply for it because that has actually been our new policy, right? Because we want to give scholarship to people in their first year or second year so that they are longer with us, so that we can give more money to them. No, because we can actually give them the internship experience and the 2 internship experience.
All right, that's it. Okay, so for the next question from Ralph, what are the challenges you have encountered in KPMG and how did you get through it?
I think one of the primary challenges I face with KPMG is actually when it comes to technical competencies. because we at KPMG, we are knowledge workers. We don't produce products. We render our services. We provide our expertise and knowledge to our clients, right? And sometimes, as a fresh graduate, especially, sometimes you feel like your knowledge is not up to that level yet, right? So, to me, that has been one of the greatest challenges I face personally at KPMG. So what I did was I made sure that I am able to procure the necessary resources lah when it comes to macam standards ke, things like that. I read them up and then I consult with my seniors, my engagement manager. Okay, so I also need to be comfortable asking around lah, not to be shy to ask questions. Can so I think that is really really important once you work not just in KPMG but other big four other companies for summer, right? I think but everyone knows like a fresh graduate won't know everything, right? So so sometimes to know who to ask, what questions to ask, where to consult, where to find the resources can actually be a challenge on its own. So I think that would be one of the challenges I face.
Yes, I feel like we need to step out from our comfort zone if we want to do more and if we want to contribute more to the everyone, to us as well. All right, so we are left with 3 questions. Okay, so for the last 3 questions, can you share your experience as one of the student ambassadors?
Okay, so I was a student ambassador back in 2020 during my final year of study. So it was the first year in which the ambassadorship program was rolled out, and I was really excited to it. I was really excited for it, just like all the other ambassadors. So as a ambassador, I'm acting as KPMG's campus champion, basically, right? So I'm acting as the official representative of the firm, connecting the students at Nottingham with the firm, with KPMG in Malaysia. So what that means is that there will be various events and activities that I hosted. At the first half of the first quarter of the year, it was actually physical events lah, right? So we brought KPMG into the campus, and then they talk about the career opportunities. Mr. Anil was there lah. So Anil was managing the program when I was a student, and now I'm working with him. Right, so it's been quite the journey lah, right? So but it was fun, and one of the reasons why it's fun is because you are meeting this is not to sugarcoat or this is not to exaggerate, but one of the things I found really really interesting that I have cherished ever since is the fact that I get to work alongside like-minded individuals from other universities, because sometimes okay, oh, you're from UNIMAC, I'm from UNIMAC, okay, we're from the same uni, but have you ever be part of an external organization that is striving towards the same cause, doing the same thing, but you guys are from different unis, you are from different places, different states, but yet you can still act together macam kawan, kan? So as friends. So I think that's one of the best experience lah. So that is why we have thought about expanding it to the UK and hopefully next year to Australia, so that when they come together, they think, oh my god, like I study UiTM, he's studying UKM, he's studying in LSE, Warwick, or University of Melbourne, but we're still are KPMG ambassadors in the most fundamental level. So I think that creates a sense of shared values. So I think, to me personally, that was the experience that I treasure the most ever since.
Oh, I think it's nice and it feels like living your dream because you started as a student ambassador and look at you now. You are one of the people who manage this program itself.
Right.
All right, so for the next question, Mr. Ukail, what's your experience as the younger generation in the firm?
I think, to say the least, is really, really empowering, right? Because but because now I'm actually responsible to lead the task force, right? The Impact KPMG task force to realize our impact plan, and to be given someone with my I would say in the to compare myself with other staff at KPMG, I would be at the younger end of the age spectrum, like I mentioned again. So but yet I'm still empowered or entrusted to lead this task force, right? And then when it comes to like running our student engagement activities, I am able to plan and propose anything that I want with Anil, okay? And then the Education Trust Fund, just now, I actually proposed the establishment of Yayasan KPMG. But then, of course, after further discussion, we just wanted to make it into a trust fund first. Maybe hopefully later it's going to be a Yayasan. So I actually literally came up with a deck and then just sent it to my boss again, Zeti. So she is basically the boss of talent management culture, the team under PPC. And she was impressed, and she was really okay. So she wants to bring it up to the EXCO, the executive committee, consisted of 10 partners leading the firm again. So I was in the meeting with them, and then it got approved, right? So I think for someone like me to be able to contribute an idea, to materialize it, and to see that it actually happens in front of your eyes, I think that's really empowering, especially given my age. Lah, I'm not, of course, I'm older than you guys, but comparing to other people in the world, I'm really young, lah, right? So I think that's really empowering. And then they treat you like equals, and they really depend on you. And when they ask you questions, sometimes when the partners ask you questions, not to test you out, sometimes they ask you questions to seek your input and opinion, right? So that's really valuable.
True, because being young doesn't mean we can come up with something huge for the others. It's all about our passion.
Yes, correct.
All right. Lastly, okay, for the last question, does KPMG provide living accommodations for their workers who live far away from home or not?
Okay, so we do not provide like a permanent accommodations to our workers per se, right? But there have been like a few things that we're trying to do. Okay, one is something that we have always been doing. Another one is something new that we have done. The something new is the hybrid working plan, the hybrid working arrangement, right? So sometimes we understand that work is not where you do, something it's actually what you do, right? So when especially we have people who lives near the outer edge of the Klang Valley, kan, but they still work at Petaling Jaya office. They are attached there. So taking that into consideration, pandemic as well, MCO semua tu, we thought about rolling out hybrid working arrangement in 2022. So we are not required to come to office unless it is really necessary lah. So we can still work from home, and even for those who are working from office, they enjoy their newly renovated office space, which is really nice. We have like pantry, vending machines, we have wireless charging cables, we have meeting room, function rooms, like the think tank rooms, the standing desk that's adjustable, the USB-C cable, lockers, and many more. So I was really impressed. So I'm really excited. Actually, my team is actually moving in to our new level in the office, but then I'm in my hometown again for some personal matters. But yeah, so they're having fun. But still, okay, so that's hybrid working. But still, people who are not coming to office, they can still work from home. Kan, so that way, why we do not provide permanent accommodations, we actually encourage you to stay at home lah juga. The second thing that something that we have always been doing is that, especially for our service line people, when it comes to peak period, we actually will provide a temporary accommodation for them, right? So maybe for 2 weeks or 4 weeks during the peak period, you guys will stay at a hotel or like a residential place lah, where you guys can where the people can actually where our people can actually live with their team members to complete their work. And so that way it's not, if they live far away, so that way it's not going to be hard lah for them, or they can actually avoid from having to travel back and forth from their home to the client's place during the peak period. And so yeah, so those are the two methods that we have been incorporating.
All right, it's true. Especially during this pandemic, it's important for the company to come up with a new plan that will be convenient to the employees. Okay, so we are done with the Q&A session. Thank you so much, Mr. Okail, for answering all of our questions, and also your wonderful sharing session just now regarding KPMG and the career insights, because who knows, one of the participants here might join KPMG.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Ukai, for the impactful sharing session regarding career inside KPMG. And it is very interesting benefits that KPMG offers to the employers. And I'm pretty sure that it will be boost up the participant dream to become one of the KPMG family soon. And I hope we can meet again in the next event. And thank you again. Before we dismiss, a gentle reminder to all participants, we will be having the next webinar session this afternoon at 2 p.m. with a representative from Ernst & Young, and the link will be provided before the session starts.
All right, everyone. Thank you for attending our first webinar session, especially to Mr. Muhammad Okail and also to our dearest participants. And before that, we also have ongoing contests such as a photo contest with Chinese New Year theme and also a game to find the culprit. You can hit to our Instagram at UNIMAC_official if you wish to join any of these events. Monetary rewards will be given to the winners as well. And don't forget to fill in the feedback form that has been provided in the chat box. See you again this afternoon. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Mr. Kyle.
much. Thank you,
It was
Mr.
a fun
Kyle.
session.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle.
My pleasure. Stay safe and take care. Bye bye. Have a great
All
day.
right, take care, Mr. Kyle.